A super interesting approach. Something that kind of frustrates me is when I see projects going for parachains, and maybe they should build a great application and onboard users and grow from there.
The launch team wishes you good luck and Godspeed.
Space Monkeys blasting off with Matt and Nino. They're from the Apillon project. Super interesting project that is solving one of the most difficult problems in our ecosystem today. Guys, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on Space Monkeys.
Nice to be
Thanks
here.
for having us.
Yeah.
So we have the CEO, Chief Product Officer here with us. Maybe you could give us a quick elevator pitch of what you guys are trying to do at Apillon.
We kind of figured that the biggest issue when it comes to adoption of Polkadot or blockchains in general is the friction of new developers coming into the space. And we kind of encountered the same thing. So we saw there's a lot of effort to be done, a lot of research, a lot of analyst work to be done to understand how blockchains work, how to code it, and then it's intimidating for a lot of Web2 developers entering the space.
That's right.
And basically that's what we're trying to solve here. So we're building a platform, integrating different parachains with the Polkadot ecosystem, creating a simple API layer so that developers can then use their familiar skills like Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, and so on.
Yep.
And start coding on top of Polkadot without having to understand how blockchain or Web3 actually works.
Fantastic. And it's notable that you guys are not a parachain.
Yeah.
You guys have a token, the Nectar token on Moonbeam,
Yes.
and you're using that to incentivize the building of cross-chain applications,
Yes.
where this ecosystem is really headed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did this idea come from?
So the project started as an Auth-Rail, which was a data integrity module working on Ethereum, and then it slowly moved to Moonbeam. And while researching parachains, which are really focusing on a protocol level to deliver a specific service, which then of course drives towards Web3, we soon figure out that all of them are doing these great things, but none of them are there's no application who connects them and really opens up the possibility to work on several parachains.
Yeah.
So it is like quite logical conclusion. But we're the first ones tackling it within the Polkadot ecosystem. So yeah.
And that's the beauty of the Polkadot ecosystem, actually, to have those app chains, purpose-built blockchains, right? Each serving their own purpose, which makes it also easier for us, but also developers to understand, okay, if I have a specific use case, I can talk to this one parachain.
Yep.
Whereas with other chains like Ethereum, Solana, and so on, you got kind of thrown into the water and have to figure out whom to talk to for this specific need, right?
Right.
And this ecosystem is just amazing when it comes to getting the support that you need for that.
So Web2 developer comes with their toolbox, their languages that they like to use. They come to you and you offer, okay, well, here's where you get storage. Here's where you get compute. All these kind of building blocks of an application. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
We're also trying to simulate the development to be as close to Web2 as it was. So now we integrated Crust parachain and built our storage and hosting modules out of it.
Yep.
And we didn't just go and say, okay, this is Crust and now you push files to IPFS, but we created our own buckets, like very close to S3 on AVS. So you come to our platform, you create a bucket, you get an API, and you just start pushing the files in. So we're pushing this extra mile to really bring the user experience as well. It's not just we hooked up the SDKs of other parachains, but we also want to simulate the development flow and how you think when you approach an architecture of a Web3 app or whatever.
Before we started recording, you guys were talking about adoption, right? And when you guys say adoption, I think you mean adoption of builders of applications, right? Or are you also talking about users? And
Both, yeah.
You're talking about both, okay.
I think it comes with the builders, right? But,
yeah.
But what we implemented in our, let's say, in a tokenomics model, but also business model is we want to drive adoption in terms of user adoption.
Yeah.
So we have a so-called proof of adoption protocol implemented, so that we incentivize developers who bring more users into the ecosystem, right? So if you build let's say an Instagram clone on top of Polkadot now, you will get rewarded by bringing more and more users into the platform, right? So it's also for new developers, let's say, lucrative to start building on top of Apillon.
So are you saying if they build on top of Apillon, and they will get some sort of maybe a nectar incentive for the amount of users they bring on the chain?
Yeah.
How do you guys record that? Because I mean, it's not necessarily a science figuring out like active users, right? Like how do you prevent people from gaming that?
Because we're integrating also with Kilt, which provides identity.
Oh, okay.
All of the users that are developers on board will go through,
They have
obtaining
profiles.
the IDs, right?
Yes.
So we have a really solid metric that we can utilize to bring this token utility into life, and that's why we decided to do that. And
That's
it actually, the whole adoption thing starts from our vision, which is like, let's bring Web3 to commercial use as soon as possible.
Yeah.
So we're not just a tool that makes or removes the friction for developers, but we are also thinking about the end users.
It's fantastic.
And I think this is huge. It's very important.
I love that too. Once somebody has a digital ID through Kilt, they can have credentials from multiple applications, right?
Exactly.
But they have a common profile.
Exactly.
Cool.
And this is maybe this is my personal opinion, but I think Web3 will always start from identity, because for a user to be able to handle the privacy and the ownership of the files, it has to start with the identity, and then whatever you do, wherever you interact, the ownership goes to this single identity, right?
Yep.
So
that's cool.
This is how we're approaching.
So what are some use cases and applications you guys see being built on this? You're appealing to Web2 developers. Over in Web3, we only have a few viable use cases so far, right? DeFi gambling, and what do you guys see as use cases in Web3?
I think the one that we already previously mentioned, like having a social media platform, specifically with all the scandals going on in, let's say, in the past years, when data leakages were going on and user data has been sold, right, for marketing purposes. I think this can drive this user adoption and showcase them, look, you are in control of your own data, you are in control of your own intellectual property in this kind of way, right? And showcasing that being on Web3 gives you this freedom of choice of how your data is being used in the ecosystem.
Sure.
So having let's say, Instagram clone or a Facebook clone, I think the beauty actually then really is with Apillon that you have the possibility to really leverage all those different parachains in the backend, right? So right now you have the interoperability at the backend. They are working with cross-chain messaging protocol, but it's very infrastructure level. So you have these channels that are open, they can communicate with each other, but there are not many applications really leveraging all of those parachains, or many of those parachains on the front end.
Yeah.
And we want to give them the opportunity to start exploring these opportunities and finding new ways of implementing Web3 technology in a way that we might even not know yet, right? But at least give them the possibility to do so.
A very simple way of what we can provide right now. So, right now we are in closed beta with cross integration, which is like storage buckets and hosting. I think in 3 days ago, we hosted our own website on our own hosting, right? So it's a Web3 unstoppable website, which utilizes full crust, and everyone can do it now. It's a drag and drop functionality. You can build your own blog, you can build, whatever, and pull it up and say, my website is now Web3. And this is just the beginning, right? So
unstoppable websites. That's
of course.
a simple but great idea.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
And now, if you go further and you say, okay, now you have identity, suddenly users can log in.
Yep.
And then you can start building a real experience, a real, even a mobile app, for example, or something like that. So I would say you could build anything like in Web2. Just bring it into Web3 and really be conscious of user privacy and user ownership of what we're trying to achieve in Web3, and build it, like that, like really solid.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you guys tell me about the Nectar token? We've talked about it a little bit, incentivizing user adoption. What else are you guys using this Nectar token for?
So we, all of us, we have some previous experience from crypto. We are not newcomers, and we saw the ICO era. We saw different tokenomic models, predicted even before the launch. So we chose a more experienced path right now. So we are predicting 3 phases of our tokenomics, which in general, in the beginning, we're just giving users governance, come help us out, make the right decisions, where it's also, needs to mention that our governance is focused only on the product, right? Only on the decisions which are user facing. So like if you see we integrated some protocols and you would like to see a different protocol integrated as well, you can use governance to talk to us and really help us out in the governance. So in the phase one, we're just doing the governance part, really trying to establish the relationship with our community. And then we are adding additional phases like, utilizing our token to handle the payments, the underlying payments. It's important to notice, like when you're working with several parachains, all of those services are paid in their tokens, which are volatile. So it's, it's quite tricky.
Well, how do you solve that with Nectar?
We'll use our token to basically trade behind on those tokens,
okay.
And you'll be able to either pay with fiat or with our own token. And then we're also doing some additional stuff on pools of different parachains that will help us out, even out the price of the service. So
okay, so people can pay for these services that are running their apps. You said with fiat.
Yes.
As a possibility. You guys
Yes.
building an on-ramp for that?
Not yet.
Okay.
So we're quite early. Like I said.
Okay. It's totally cool.
But yeah, we have
the idea.
We have a solid vision on that. And
Yep.
yeah.
So fiat or the Nectar token, but
Yes.
isn't the Nectar token going to be volatile itself?
Of course.
Okay.
It will. But the more parachains we add,
Yep.
there is more underlying assets. And once we add liquidity pools from all those parachains, we will probably be able to get, a more, a less volatile version of the pricing.
I see what you're going for here. So you guys want to be priced against all these volatile assets and kind of land somewhere
Yes.
in the middle.
And the main purpose is because once you start building something, you can afford the infrastructure, right? But once you start scaling, you need the predictability of the price. Otherwise, it's impossible to scale. And this is a huge challenge not only in Polkadot, but everywhere. All the parachains or chains, whoever, their assets are volatile, right? So how do you predict the pricing for, 10 million users? And we want that. We want Web3 apps for tens of millions of users.
Yeah.
And there's no way to predict how much it will cost on that scale.
Yeah.
So we're trying to tackle this, So we'll see.
But we also go down the road to introduce fiat payments, because obviously our target audience are going to be Web2 developers who have probably never seen a wallet before.
Yeah.
Don't know how to save a seed phrase, don't know how to maintain a wallet, how to buy a token, but want to enter the space. So we have to give them the option to start building on top of it by leveraging standard payment methods, but then slowly showcasing them, look, by holding the Nectar token, you can get some incentive or get some discounts on your monthly subscription fee. You can get incentivized, and you have more perks by having a Nectar token interact with the parachains in the back.
Yeah, I saw in your documents, I think, something about this desire to become kind of a self-propagating project with many contributors.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be incentivizing the building of the core protocol as well? Core projects
sure.
as well?
I mean, one of the ideas is also for us to open up, because right now we are the ones who are integrating parachains, right?
Yeah.
But we also want to open up and leave the ability that a smaller parachain comes and integrates itself into the platform, right? And this way we can grow really fast and provide developers with really solid services. So but it's also one of the things that it's yet to be done. We need to set the standard. And it's actually quite tricky. Every parachain operates differently, needs different microservices in the background, and it's questionable if it's possible to do it like in a general way. So
Interesting story. So let's talk about who you've partnered with so far, or who you've integrated so far. You've mentioned, I've heard you say Kilts, so that's ready to go.
Yeah.
Crust as well.
Yes.
Very cool. Who else is on the books?
So we started when, as Nino mentioned it, as we started back in 2018 with Ethereum, and then moved over to Moonbeam. Moonbeam was our entry drug to Polkadot. So because it was the easiest transition.
Yeah.
But we soon kind of ran into the issue that when we started talking to our end customers, they said we need more. because it's not just smart contracts. We need something more tangible, something more revolutionary.
Sure.
And this kind of snowballed back then to say, okay, we need storage, we need identity, we need computing, and we started exploring the ecosystem. And from Moonbeam, the first then interactions we started having was with Kilt, was Crust. Now integrating Fala for cloud computing.
Fala, okay.
We're in talks with Astar for WebAssembly, for NFTs and so on.
Ooh.
And then basically the sky's the limit. So we want the developers to have the possibility, so the front-end developers who are going to work with us, to guide us or to give us suggestions on what parachains to integrate next.
Okay.
Obviously also want to talk to different parachains. So they see a use case where they say, look, we could use the integration with Kilt, Fala, and who else to build a new application on top. Right, the top of my mind, I don't know, Centrifuge for real-world assets is one of where I see big potential, right?
Sure.
We have Subsquid, we have Kusama, right? I mean, there's so many parachains that can, let's say, add a big benefit to the platform itself. And when we start integrating that on the front end to really build applications, then we're gonna build really amazing applications in the front end then.
Interesting. Any applications already in the works that you guys have attracted, or
Yeah, tomorrow we are showcasing on Moonbeam booth the NFT collection application built solely on Apillon with the integration of Crust.
Nice.
So basically, for an NFT collection, you need storing images somewhere, storing metadata. This is going to our storage via Crust, and then we are connected to Moonbeam to directly mint. So it all happens within our platform. Actually, it happens on the parachains, underlying parachains, but you do everything by clicking within Apillon.
so cool.
No coding or smart contracts, nothing has to be done.
Very cool.
We're also including, let's say, primitive front end, which you can then immediately utilize and put it on our hosting. Connect your domain, and the collection is already live, and it's connected to the.
These are like templates.
Yeah,
application templates.
Right now it's more of a code snippet like thing from documentation. But we are looking into experience where with one click you get everything provisioned and deployed, right?
Yeah.
And you can immediately deploy your NFT collection, and it's standalone on the parachains.
The end goal has to also be that we want to be like the facilitator to have apps to be able to talk to parachains directly, so that they don't have to go through Apillon. We want to be also the first interaction. Look, because for example, if you have a large enterprise like a large bank, insurance company, whatsoever, and they want to start doing NFTs and so on, if they start building on top of one of those, let's say, generic chains like Ethereum and so on, right? They get kind of, as mentioned before, thrown in the water, and they don't know whom to talk to if they want direct support. Whereas if they start minting NFTs on Apillon and say, we want to go deeper into the parachain or blockchain level, sure, there's the guys from Moonbeam. Let's talk to them, for example, or Astar or Akala, who has VPN compatibility. You have the teams there, we have the direct connections, we can hook you up with the right people to support your use case. And the same what we want to do then on the front end level. We have an application who's building a DEX, and we have another application who's building an NFT marketplace. Why don't you guys start working together? You have the back-end infrastructure is already in place. We can hook you up and you can start building, right? And then it just starts layering up, piling up, creating a bigger application on top. So this interoperability thing is definitely something that we want to embrace and push forward. And not just, among parachains, but also across the whole blockchain space.
Fantastic.
I would only add that we're still not working with XCM. So basically, we're achieving this front-end interoperability by talking to SDKs of each of the parachains. We're kind of speculating and waiting for XCM to really mature. We're working with limited resources, and we, decided that speed is before everything else, speed of delivery, right?
Absolutely.
And in a month, XCM version 3 is coming. We will review it again and then see what can we, adjust. But so far, we haven't made any irreversible decisions, and we can become as unstoppable or decentralized as we want.
That's right. As far as the state of infrastructure goes, there are probably apps that are built on Web 2 that can't be built completely on Web 3 yet. Like I'm thinking like high definition video delivery, things like that. Like what are the limiting factors right now? Like where are we like kind of coming up against the very edge?
lack of typical database, probably.
Lack
right?
of a typical database.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't have a typical database. We do have blockchain, right? And you can also encrypt, but it becomes either really expensive or it's slow. So within this, a lot is happening. Obviously, with trusted execution environments, there are also providers who do similar things with databases, and we're looking into that. But yeah, I would say this is like. If you want to have a really Web2 full experience,
Yeah.
this is the missing part.
Okay.
But maybe it's also not missing. Maybe Web3 will find a way to live without. So it's a thing of patience and waiting out and seeing, I guess.
Interesting. Okay, well, thanks a lot, guys, for coming on the show. I think it's a very interesting project and a super interesting approach, right? Something that kind of frustrates me is when I see projects going for parachains, and maybe they should build a great application and onboard users and grow from there.
Yeah.
So it seems like an amazing place to onboard new developers and empower them with the tools to build whatever they can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So thanks for coming on and sharing your story, guys.
Thanks for having us.
I appreciate it.
was
We'll
great.
keep following you on the channel, and maybe we can talk again soon.
Perfect.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Thank
Thanks.
you.